Right, update. This cam cover. Now I want to ask a question to my Rover enthusiasts. Did Rover ever paint the cam covers in this black paint? Because, well, we've got some paint flaking off here, but I thought they were just aluminium. Or has somebody sprayed this up in the past? Can somebody answer this question? But I've just cleaned up all the faces, so that's all nice and clean now, and that's as clean as what it will be. That's obviously clean, like I've said before. I've given these a bit of a clean up as well, and hopefully I haven't lost all of the bolts. That's the cam sensor bolts. These are all the other bolts. This is the top cover, and these are the coil pack bolts, so make sure you don't mix them all up. But the bottom of the engine, if I just bring you around here, is looking okay. It's still looking oily in certain places, but that's because I've got to dry off, but it's looking a heck of a lot better under there. I just need to actually completely dry it off. And if I just swing the camera around, you can actually see a bit more now, and it's clean. The oil filter housing is clean. The bottom of the sump is looking a lot drier. Everything's looking much more drier, which is exactly what you want, and it's looking a million times better than what it did a couple of months ago. Thanks to Discount MG Rover Spares, I have another rocker cover gasket at an extremely reasonable price. I just need to open the packaging up. That might be a start. Now, you can't really go wrong with this, and the fact that it comes from Discount MG Rover Spares gives me some confidence that they've gone to a good supplier of these, because plenty of the eBay ones tend to fall apart. And actually, this is a very different construction to the one I bought off eBay. Maybe I should have bought mine, but anyway. Top side, exhaust manifold side this way, so thus make sure that everything is nice and clean, and just place it on. That's literally all you're doing. Line all the bolts up, done. Right, rocker cover. Okay, make sure all the faces are nice and clean. Have a couple of bolts handy, because lining this, now you can either do this two ways. You can either put the gasket on and put the rocker cover on and just try and line the bolts through, or if this starts sort of sliding about a bit, you can just hook these together, put a bolt through, and then go for it. I mean, you can literally do it this way if you want. So put a bolt through, and then just make sure that bolt lines through with the back side. So there we go. Okay, and then make sure it maneuvers into position. So get the first bolt down. Now you see my problem already, it's already come loose. So that way really doesn't work for me. So I would always just place it down, okay, make sure it's still in the right position. In fact, this is not as slidey as the other ones. And gently place the rocker cover down into the right position. Just make sure all the holes are lined up. Okay. Might be a bit of shimming going on, but no, it seems to be sitting roughly in the right place. When you're happy, put the first bolt in. Line some of the bolts in. So just line the end one. Remember, it's the long bolts, all of them. There's about 15 of them. Just put them in and just screw them in just a little bit. Okay, just a couple of threads, that's enough. Okay, because then we're just going to put it in by hand. Tie them all up by hand. Just don't go too much. Just tighten it up until it stops by hand. At this stage, you don't really need to worry about torquing or anything like that. As I say, I haven't got a torque wrench today, so I've got to kind of do it up by hand, nip it up by hand, that sort of thing. But hey, you know, it's all part of the game. And I've got to accelerate a little bit, even though it's taken a while. This has a couple of hours job if you do it thoroughly. Rocker cover gaskets are relatively easy on these engines, but you do need to do a lot of cleaning, which is what takes the time, not taking it apart. But it's very easy to do, and just tighten up all the 15 bolts. The other thing is I've left that oil drain plug still out because, well, the truth is this oil is still dripping. It's still dripping from the sump. So I'm not going to put that bolt back in until the last second, including the oil filter. That'll be the last thing once I've put all this in, and obviously the spark plugs as well. Right, to tighten these up, guys, you just go from the centre out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I know it's probably not what it says in the manual, but ideally with Rocker covers, you start in the middle and you spread the load out, and you just literally just nip it up. That's it. What you might find is when you do the center ones, and then by the time you finish with the outer ones, the center ones might be loose again because you've tightened them all up and it's compressed in that sandwich. But don't worry about that. Just again, go back to the middle. Once you've finished on the outers, go back to the middle, nip them up a tiny fraction, and that's it. We're not talking about much here. We're just talking about nipping up, as you can see. So, tell you what, guys, this car is going to be quite different by the time that this is done. And yeah, we've just got standard copper spark plugs, nothing fancy, and they have been correctly gapped. I have actually checked. I'm just going to put it in here. Unfortunately, I forgot my copper grease. If you got some copper grease, put it on the threads. But since this engine may be leaking tiny bit of oil into the spark plug wells, as you saw earlier, it doesn't matter. Rover 45s are delightful to work on. In the K series, delightful engine to work on. If you've never owned one and you're thinking about one, don't be put off by the head gasket issues. It's so easy when you know how, and when you don't know how, it's still easy. It's literally that simple. Don't use a ratchet yet. Let's put that there. So one more in. Right, time to tighten it up. So really, honestly, I would just do it hand tight. Just nip it up just a little bit more until they get a bit tight. That's it, that's enough. You'll feel it sort of come to a bit of a stop, and then that's when you stop. Nip, there we go. Nip. Ah, that does sometimes happen. You have to retrieve the socket sometimes. It can get stuck on the rubber. There you go, it's come out. Done. Right, cam position sensor. Yeah, you never know, this might be one of the reasons why the car's acting up. I mean, that is absolutely dreadful. That is, as I say, it's not dreadful no more. So just carefully place it through, although this is, do you know what, I'm just going to take this off because it's absolutely detonating on me. So I'm just going to throw that on the floor and accept that that's just no good. I've never seen them get this brittle, but just what I would suggest is just place the wires gently within that. There is a bit of play in there, and just pop that in, and all we need, as I say, just make sure it goes in quite nicely. Having a bit of a play around with this, just push that into there. Okay, lovely. So those wires are now a little bit taut. I may put electrical contact, some tape over that just to protect the wires, but that should be okay. Now there is a single bolt for this, and it is a shorter bolt than all these. This is a shorter bolt, and you literally just wind it all the way in. Not overly tight, just tight enough. Just give it a clean around. Lovely. So that connector is back on. I've just cleaned that connection as well. So all good. Looking really, really nice. Now, coil packs, HT leads. Just a simple reversal. So I have given these a bit of a clean, although I would recommend probably these will need replacing eventually. I will. I've put some contact cleaner in there and the lead. So oh, go away, come on. So pop these back in, and it might be a bit of a struggle getting them over the new spark plug. They might give a bit of a fight, but they will eventually go back over. And then this HT lead will go over here, so it'll sort of go this way and then sit on this coil pack and come here. We're going to leave that out for a second. It will fight you a little bit, so I suggest you get 2 of the bolts, and again, they're probably the same. These are the bolts that are the same size as the cam position sensor, just little bolts. Just get it threaded in. You might have to force it down to get the thread in. Yeah, that's gone in already. And then obviously the second one, just to bow it in a little bit. There we go. Next one goes in here. Oh, that was a lot easier. It's actually sitting much nicer on the plug. There we go. I don't know why it was such a fight with that one, but this one goes in really nicely. And obviously this HT lead comes back this way and goes in there. So number 1 controls also number 1 and number 4. Okay, and this one, this coil pack, controls number 2, number 3. Okay, remember that. So just get your bolts in. And so I've done this a few times before. Obviously with the wiring, we've got to put the wiring through this little groove here, and it will go through into there. And obviously one error that I've actually just made is you're going to have to actually take this back up, because I've made a mistake in actually pushing it down. Well done, Andrew. So just make sure you can bring it back out, and we can get that connector to fit onto that quite easily. Just twist it in and it just snaps in. Lovely. Now we can push that back down, get this connected up to here. Okay, so it's quite self-explanatory really. There we go. Sure, it clicks in. Lovely. So it's just a question of getting all of this routed. There's no real massive you know, error with, like, you can make a mistake doing this. Just make sure that this outer one goes around there, and then it comes sort of up here, and you push it in here and put that down in there. There we go. Now just push this down here. There we go. And then just pop this back in here, and then you can just get this seated, and it's all routed correctly. Okay, you've got that back in, so that's bolted down. Just make sure the wiring is nicely firmly in this second run, just alongside the cam wiring, and then it goes through there. That's all in, that's clicked in. These bolts are taut. That just tighten them down. They're about 10 Newton meters, but really honestly, just make sure the HT are pumped in. I actually couldn't get this to go around this one, because this is actually fractionally short. These are not the original HT leads, I'll tell you that. But the way you finish it off is just a few little things here. So we've got a couple of hoses. We've got this one here. So this one we kindly just popped off earlier, just trying to actually route this through. Oh, how delightful this is. Just pop that on, and then just get your fingers to, in fact, oh, that's really free. Just hurt your fingers doing this. You can use pliers, but just get it over. There we go. It will go over sort of a step, and then you know it's in. This has come out again, which shouldn't do, so just pop that back in, and then this bottom one here, just place this back over the top. So I'm trying to juggle the camera and show you this. There's a bit of a crack in that. There's actually some minute cracks there, but not worry too much. Just make sure you get this back over. The main thing is, if there is a crack there, it might need replacing, because it could induce some air leaks. And yeah, that's on. Nice, done. Right, cover back on. The beauty cover, which just slides back on. Lovely. If you've got everything seated under there, that just should just slide on. Remember, 2. No, I don't want a piece of glove in the engine, thank you. Long bolt there, long bolt there, and a short one there, and really honestly, just tighten it up. You don't need me to tell you anymore. Looks like a completely different engine bay, doesn't it? That's cleaned up so well. I'm really pleased, and now it's free of oil at the front, and that is how a K series should look. I love the look of a K series. There's no hoses on top of the engine. You just get a solid lump of aluminium with a plastic cover, and quite a nicely designed plastic cover. I think that looks really suited to the K series, really slimline and just neat. Anyway, next thing, we've got to get this oil out eventually. It's been sitting under here for such a long time, and just take a look. New glove, here we go. Something that we've all done before. Got you. There we go. Well, I don't think we're going to have a problem with getting this sump plug back in. Right, we have a genuine MG Rover oil filter, and we have a sump plug washer. Yes, something that I forgot to put on my own. And oil filter. We are against time, because I'm afraid if you look up there, yeah, we're going to get a rainstorm. So oil filter straight on. some people say to pre-fill these. That's quite difficult on a K-series because the filter housing is on the side, so half of it's just going to come out. So we could do the procedure as usual, just crank the engine a few times with the fuel pump removed to get the oil circulating again. But literally it's a case of hand tightening and do not over tighten, and that's it. New washer, new plug, just wind it back in as best you can by hand. Make sure it goes nicely into the thread. Good. And then tighten up with your 15 mil. That's it. Done. Right. Now it's time for some fresh oil onto that fantastically clean gasket. There we go. So put that back on. And we are using the usual, what I used in Beatrix, the classic 1040 Manol. It is to spec for Rover. It's semi-synthetic. It is the correct oil you should use for a K-series. And I know people have got different opinions, and I need to stab this with something. I always end up using my car key for some reason. There we go. Quite satisfying. And open up the seal. Just pour it in. Just have a check underneath just to make sure that there's no leaks, and I can confirm that we have no oil leaking. Fantastic. So I would recommend we put 4 litres in and then we see where we are, because 4 litres is kind of the given for this engine. Right, okay, we put 4 litres in ish. Now this is when you sort of check the dipstick, and I've just dipped it, and it's just on the bottom of that dipstick. Sorry if my hand's wobbling a little bit. I had a few stressful things to deal with today. Yes, fuel filter, I'm looking at you. It's a nice clean fuel filter there. But yeah, that's on the bottom of the dipstick. And remember, the oil filter is empty. So you have to consider that it's going to take the engine a few spin cycles to fill that oil filter, and the oil level will be lower than what it will actually be. So we're going to fill up to roughly about 4.5 litres. So I'm just going to pour more in. That's enough. Got a bit windy at the moment. And then we'll just let that go in there, and we'll see what it reads next. Okay, check again. Remember, keep checking. And I'm pleased to say we are on the dipstick. We are halfway up the dipstick, and it's not even been a minute yet. So that's going to go a bit higher. We can stop there because of what we're going to put in the engine next. And it is this bunch of magic potions. Now, a lot of classic car owners, modern classic car owners, cars with high wear, high mileage would actually swear by this. I've heard good stories about this, and I've had positive experiences of this with my own P6 in solving leaks, increasing the oil pressure as well, because your leaks are sealed basically. And it is made of 100% petroleum, and it is the directions to use really: 20% of system capacity, 1 litre of oil stabiliser with 4 litres of motor oil. So really, I should be using the whole bottle essentially. I'm not going to, I'm probably going to use maybe 1/3 to half this bottle, and that should be enough for this engine. Remember, that's going to higher the actual engine oil level just slightly, but eventually this stuff will work its way around the entire oil way system, and I'm hoping that this will quiet the engine down even more. And I think that this is certainly, you can use it in differentials and light duty gearboxes, i.e. hard duty or even heavy duty gearboxes. It stops smoking, knocking, oil consumption. So if you've got oil blown through the piston rings, that sort of thing, this is a very, very good product, and I do swear by it. So let's get some in. I think, really honestly, I'm just going to take the cap off and we're going to go for it. It is pure petroleum, and as you can see, it's quite gloopy as it is. Wow. I'll just get it angled in, and we've practically come up to halfway of the bottle. So I won't use the whole bottle, I'll use half the bottle, because I don't think that this engine requires it. I honestly don't. Well, what I've seen today, and what you guys might have seen on the camera, is actually quite a clean K-series. I mean, the flush I think has worked an absolute treat. It really has. So I'm going to put that oil cap back on now, and now it's I'll get the car off the jack and it's squeaky bum time. So on the dipstick we have just over halfway up the dipstick, just towards a quarter. I mean, it's probably going to rise a little bit, but I will check the oil at a later date anyway. But there is enough oil to be starting up with. Now obviously there's a couple of things. We've got an empty oil filter. The engine has been emptying itself for hours on end, so there won't be much in there. There's some oil at the top of the engine still, like you saw. You know, I didn't take any of the oil out. Maybe a bit of carb cleaner may have gone in there, but not too much, and that's the ideal thing. But there is an additive in the system, and we can now start the car. We've got, as I say, new air filter for better breathing, new fuel filter for better fuel pressure, and your fuel pump will definitely enjoy that, and so will your injectors. We've had Red X put through the system. The owner has put Red X through every time she's gone to the petrol station, which no doubt will help that part of the system as well. So that's all good. And we have fresh oil, new spark plugs. So let's just see what difference that makes. Got to get this off first. Next thing, fuel pump fuse. Now what we're going to do is quite important. Just take the fuse straight out. Ooh, there you go. That was a bit stiff. Now, that is the fuel pump fuse that I've just taken out of the fuse box. Now that's quite important because we're just going to crank the engine. We want to get the oil circulating again without the car actually starting. So I'll just nip in and do that now. And for the 5th time, if you watch the oil pressure light, it's gone off. That is a very, very good sign. We can now put the fuse back in and start the car properly. Almost. I think we've got a little fuel, as I say, the fuel pressure's had to build up, and then we've got a load of stuff in the system. We've got carb clean and oil down the engine. That is perfectly normal. You hear it coughing, it will start. Give it a chance. It starts. A bit smoky. Oh dearie me, the carb cleaner burning off. Woo, woo, woo. Woo, woo. Right, she starts. Woo, 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 woo. As I say, it's completely normal, guys, if it doesn't start for a few times. Just give it a chance, it will cough itself into life. Sounds pretty good to me. Oh, it smells horrendous though. Who wants a barbecue? Yeah, that popping sound that you keep hearing is this coil pack. It is misfiring, only slightly, only fractionally, but actually when you rev it up, it's absolutely fine. What it is, we have an insert that's literally come out of the coil pack connector itself. This is a bit of a bin job. I'm going to have to get the ones off my car, well, the spares, my old ones. I did keep my old ones, and donate one, because it definitely needs it. But I'm going to take it for a test drive. It's all clamped up, but we do have a slight pop of a misfire. So I'm going to take it on a drive and see just how it drives as it is. But we've got to replace this the next time we come around to doing this, or as soon as possible. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Okie dokie, here we are again, and we may have a slight misfire, but we're going to see how it is and how it behaves. We've got the SRS light on again, so no doubt the airbag's playing up. But let's go, see how things are. Yeah, it's still getting a little... Still playing up a little bit from the gearbox. It seems to be even a little bit unhappy today, but let's take it for a drive. Doesn't seem entirely happy still, but it definitely seems a bit quieter. The gearbox playing up a little bit. When I say playing up, it does seem to hunt for higher revs. It's still not entirely happy, but still, the only way we can do is actually drive it properly. Well, the gearbox works perfectly fine pulling away from a stop. That's okay. We're getting up to 40 miles an hour now. Just take it for a nice gentle spin round the block. No warning lights so far, so it all seems to be okay so far. There is a massive difference between this and the car that I drove last month. It pulls, it doesn't hesitate. No, it's absolutely fine. In fact, this is one heck of a happy engine. I can sense it. So it definitely has had a benefit. It's quieting things down, and it's definitely made a difference. We're still getting that sound, but it's very, very slight. And the fact that it's improved, even before I did any of this work, suggests that it's on the mend, it's getting better. And I think this is what it is with old cars. I don't think you can work on a car and then have an instant quick fix after doing a job. But if you can do something that can improve it just slightly, and then over time allow it to see if it actually beds in, that's the most important point. When you've worked on a car and you're not confident about the results, just let it bed in. Fantastic. Alright, let's take it back. The gearbox is not happy when it's slowing down. Definitely some sort of misfire going on at low RPMs. Here we go. I'm going to have to put a new coil pack in this car pretty ASAP. I'll certainly be doing that very quickly. I've got a spare coil pack, and I don't mind donating a coil pack to a car that certainly needs it, but this one's got a dodgy coil pack, so I think the connector's just gone and it's just sparking at the plugs, creating just a slight misfire. So yeah, it's definitely not happy, and if the engine's not happy, the gearbox isn't going to be happy. So I'm going to have to rectify that problem before really concluding this, but at this moment in time, there's still a huge improvement, regardless of the fact that we might have a slight dodgy coil pack. So yeah, I'm pleased with this car, and do you know what, the owners said that the car's behaved a lot better, a bit more like consistently, but still has the odd day where it plays up. So it's definitely a very strange intermittent issue that this car has got, and we're going through the list, and today is the start of a massive pile of things that really you should do to keep the car in good shape. So, you know, new fluid, new gearbox, you know, new fluid, new engine oil, some additives to help out, quieten everything down. It's a case of waiting and seeing. The next time I see this car for the next job, whether we can improve it further, we'll see. But there's a lot of improving, and this car's come a long way, and the owner's had a bit of a clean up in here as well, and it's starting to look a lot better as well. We've got the two-tone dashboard, certainly stands out a mile today. Right, we're now parked up, and it does seem rather unsettled at low RPM. So yeah, that coil pack is definitely going to come out and be replaced very soon. So it's that one we're talking about. But the main thing is to check that there's no leaks. Now I've just bent on my knees, I don't want to dirty my trousers anymore. The oil plug is not leaking, the oil filter is definitely not leaking, and I can confirm that we have no leaking from the actual rocker cover gasket at the back or the front, but usually it's not the back, it's usually the corner down here. So that's really good, that is. Now there is actually just a tiny little mince there. I might have to tighten that corner because we're still getting a little bit of oil, but I suspect that may have been excess oil that's been squeezed out when I put the new gasket down. So I'll keep an eye on that. But overall, really good. And it sounds a lot better than what it was before, and that's the positivity. Yes, not all the issues have been sorted, but we're going through the stages, and I think it's just important now that obviously I've got to get the coil pack for it, but the truth is it's a case of letting things bed in now, as it were, and we're going to leave things here and we're going to see what it's like the next time we see this car. But doesn't it look just a heck of a lot nicer? I've given it a bit of a GT85 on the top. GT85 is brilliant, by the way. I haven't cleaned any of this at the back, but we've cleaned all the bits at the front, and it's looking rather neat, rather nice, clean and tidy, as you would expect to see with a looked after motor. And this car it's just got creaks about it, but there's a lot of improving, and it will get better as time goes on. So I'm going to leave you here, and yeah, we'll be coming back to this on another day to do a few more jobs, and I suspect the next thing we'll be doing is a bit of this and some sensor cleaning. I will definitely, one thing I haven't even cleaned at the moment is the gearbox. What people know as the gearbox ECU, it's not. It's an interface unit. It actually isn't a computer. The ECU controls the CVT gearbox through the interface unit. And I haven't cleaned it out, and it's a major fault if water gets into it. And I've got a feeling with some of the intermittent issues that the car is having, it's something I may not have done. I'm aware about it, but I haven't done. So there's a few things I'll still go over, but the basic things have been done, and all we can do is come back and see how improved the car sounds and whether the sound has gone, and maybe it may have stopped acting up. But I'll be back for another coil pack. Anyway, take care guys. I will see you very soon.